if you're selling a $400,000 property and somebody comes in with 10 grand today, 10 grand in 6 months, 10 grand in 12 months, 10 grand in 18 months, right? To build up to 10%, you're now establishing a reoccurring non-refundable deposits. Now, those are 100% credited towards the purchase price. You're pulling equity out of the deal,
Right.
but you're also creating passive income now from doing it because you're establishing a deal today that's going to pay you non-refundable deposits over the course of the next 1 to 2 to 4 to 5 years. So not only do you do that, but then next is you are going to place them in a property where they're going to be renting the property while they work towards becoming a homeowner. So now you're creating passive income on a monthly basis.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. I have a real treat with you, my man, my good friend, Zachary Beach from the Smart Real Estate Coach is gracing the airwaves once again with the Practical Wealth Show. And it's funny because I had him, we have a membership program. So he came in and did like our inner circle and dropped some serious nuggets there. So we wanted to bring him back on the airwaves and talk about real estate on your terms. Jack, Zach, I always jump right in, but you've been on a couple years. So tell him and reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. No, thanks, Curtis. Love being on here. Love spending time with your audience for sure. And all the awesome groups that you have. I know you and I actually originally met, I know on a podcast, but I think we also met at one of the real estate investment groups
in Philly,
down in Philadelphia. Which was many years ago.
Yeah.
I did a live phone call in front of like 200 something people. And that was the first time we realized that was a really good technique. So we do that at all our live events now. So thank Philadelphia Dig for that. But about 10 years ago, I joined real estate investing because
that takes a lot of heart to.
We recently did one at a live event. A couple of them. We had some appointments, some offers made for sure. But about 10 years ago, I was a bartender and personal trainer, and I was getting involved in real estate investing because I needed a way out of what I was currently doing. Up until that point, I was bartending, late at night, and I was personal training really early in the morning. And I kind of reached like the pinnacle of what was happening in that area, and I just got really burnt out. And it was one of those 4 a.m. talks that I have with my wife where we made a decision to say, hey, we should do something differently. So I actually approached my father-in-law, Chris, at the time, who was revamping his business. I know he's been on this podcast, a business partner. And he was revamping his business because he got crushed in 2008. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to like real estate, but it's going to be a lot better than what I'm doing now. So, kind of started from the ground up. I started making cold calls, and then went from cold calling to doing all the front end work as far as acquisitions. And then from there, we started building out the company at a pretty strong clip. And then we built this coaching company as well, because a lot of people started asking us, like, how are you guys buying real estate, without cash, credit, or banks? So we created this business model and started sharing with people all across the country. And, 10 years later, here we are.
And they're crushing it. Their students I've been up to, I missed the last one, but I've been up to their QLS live and just seeing, real people out there doing the damn thing. So it's like, I like stuff. It's no joke, Yeah,
it's even more relevant now than when we first met. I mean, the amount of creative deals out there, and I should say this all stems from the need, right, of consumers. So you have sellers out there in the real estate space that can't sell their property for the price they're hoping for, or are currently in a challenging financial situation because of the overall global economy. And then you have on the opposite side, all these buyers or all these people that need time to qualify for bank loans and can't qualify for these bank loans at these astronomical interest rates. And, as we're sitting here in October 2024, I just saw another news article that said that over the last couple of days, interest rates are increasing again. So I know they haven't been able to figure out how to lower the interest rate yet. So with both of those are really, distinct things happening in the real estate market, it's primed for what we were calling a real estate revolution at our last event, which is just there's alternative methods that need to go mainstream, and we're certainly bringing that to the forefront so that way we can really bridge the gap here.
That's all. I mean, it's like, what's the statistic? There's over half of the people out there, I know there's a higher number than that, don't qualify for a conventional mortgage. What's tell them about that?
Yeah, it's according to Redfin, and this was an article, within the last 12 months, it's roughly 75% of people out there in America have a 650 credit score or less. And then that's not even counting those that are self-employed that can't walk into a bank and get a loan today, or, those that even have a job relocation, new employment. There's lots of things out there. So we use a stat, depending upon the market, it's roughly 60 to 80% conservatively. People that want to become homeowners cannot walk into a bank and get a loan today, and need some sort of path to homeownership. And that's why we sell all of our deals on rent to own. And we do this a very specific way to ensure that we are going to maximize the amount of people that go through our program eventually can go get a bank loan.
Right.
Just imagine, and I was one of those people. I bought my first house on a rent to own program or on a lease option because I was self-employed. I could actually qualify for more of a bank loan as a bartender than I could as a self-employed real estate investor.
That's crazy.
So I was one of those people that just needed what banks would call seasoning, which is just 24 months of showing a certain amount of income, so that way they can qualify you for it. So it's just that massive group of people. So as you're starting to listen through today, I know I've kind of mentioned some things like buying deals on creative financing and rent to own, but really where it all stems, and then we'll talk about how we really structure these creative deals, where it all stems from is there is a massive need out there to an underserved audience, which is this 60 to 80% of buyers that can't walk into a bank and get a loan. So while there's all this massive group of people out there, what do? We work backwards and we provide a solution to the largest pool of people out there. Because if you look at the traditional market, everybody else is designed to help that 18 to 20%, which is, the mortgage lenders are to serve that top 18%. The realtors are there to serve the top 18%. Like the fix and flippers are there to sell the property and serve the top 18% that can qualify for those bank loans. We just operate in a completely different pool, which really allows us to then create these profits in which we do.
That's incredible, because most entrepreneurs solve problems, right? And so the bigger the problem, the bigger the check. And so now if you want to be in business, there's demands. You lean into demand because everything else that's going on is inflationary. So if a certain group wins and they want to do a $25,000 what is it called? Home credit to buy a house, that actually is going to make the prices higher.
Yeah.
It's going to make the prices higher. And the other thing, because we don't have a what do they have? We don't have a demand problem. There's really a supply problem. So all you're doing is throwing money at it, and you got more people chasing the same housing. And then of that 18 to 20% that and so it's, if you can get creative, you can just understand basic supply and demand. If you're looking for a recession-proof business, keep listening to what Zach's about to share with you.
Oh, the best thing about what we do in like this creative financing or buying and selling on terms, we kind of use those interchanged. It just depends on what age you are, is like how you refer to it.
Right.
When we speak about this, what we're essentially doing is, again, providing a new opportunity to an underserved audience. And the way in which we're able to do so is on how we buy. So I would never recommend, I shouldn't say this. I have lots of real estate investors that have portfolios right now that, even though they have the debt in their name, that they are now supplying it on rent to own. That is one way of making more money. Actually, at the last event I spoke at was down in the Gulf Coast of Alabama. Luckily, I dodged a couple hurricanes.
Right.
And we took one of the host's real estate deals that she had that was on the market, and she was selling it to a traditional buyer. And instead I said, hey, can you go refinance that property, keep it, and sell it on rent to own? And I showed them the profit margin. And she almost made double the amount of money over a 24-month period by simply doing that strategy. So that's good, right? So then, but when we talk about great, now it's you're a real estate investor, and instead of going to personally guarantee the debt, instead of going to a bank to supply the mortgage, there is a huge group of people out there that have either no debt. Some statistics show that Americans is roughly 40% of homes in the United States are debt free. So these are people in good financial standings. And they're looking for alternative options because they don't want to go the traditional route of paying an agent, paying closing costs, taking 95% of their asking price. Instead, they would rather get the best price, but receive it over time because there's tax benefits. Or you have the people right now that have little to no equity in their property on the other extreme, may not be able to make their next payment or behind on payments, but they have a 3%, a 4%, a 5% interest rate. So if we just only use those two examples,
right,
by supplying a different solution to them, and we call them either seller financing or buying it subject to the existing loan, by providing another solution to them, because the debt is that much cheaper for us as investors, because we're not going to the bank, we can now supply the rent-to-own program to those and still be profitable. What you're seeing right now is if you actually are a real estate investor in most circumstances and you want to go buy a piece of real estate to make it cash flow, it's nearly impossible, or you have to put down way more money than you would normally do on a traditional or on a deal you would have bought 5 years ago. Right. Because they don't cash flow at 8% or 7% unless you put down 35% as a down payment.
Right.
So this is where the creativity comes.
$500 a month, or $400 a month or whatever. You got to put. That's not a winning model.
Yeah. So instead, to give you an example, I had a young gentleman. He's kind of training underneath me in our real estate business. He's gone through our course and everything, so he's really getting dialed in. And he reached out to a seller. They relocated to Florida. This is happening all the time. Relocated to Florida, and these particular sellers cannot make their next monthly payment. Good news for us is they have a low interest rate. It's like 4%. So instead of them having to go behind and eventually go into a pre-foreclosure process, instead, we're able to now start making payments for them, even give them some moving money, and then start taking over that property and buy it, what we would say, subject to the existing loan. But really, we're just going to start covering their mortgage. And then they have a chunk of equity that we're going to pay them in 5 years. So that way they get a better price. They don't have the pain of going through a financial challenge, and we can step in. And because of the debt that's on the property already and the structure that we created, we're then able to supply it to a rent-to-own buyer. We should have that property filled within the next 15 days. Crazy thing, though, is the amount of applications we get for the rent-to-own program makes us then need to go get more properties in that area, because we have at least 3 to 5 people every single time, and that's being conservative, that we could accept for a rent-to-own program. And that's where we start really creating these profits.
Wow. Where did the person find that person to lead?
That particular deal was an expired listing. So they were on the market at one point in time. I couldn't sell it. From what my understanding was, based on my conversation with them, is that they went to inspection. There was a small challenge in the inspection, like one of the floors were sagging or something like that. And it wasn't, they even sent us their inspection report. Didn't bother us, won't bother our tenant buyers, but did bother the traditional buyer, right? So that was the big thing. So then they're still making a monthly payment up here in Connecticut, and they moved to Florida. Now they have their own monthly payment in Florida.
Wow.
But this is where that circumstances happens a lot for people, is they assume because the last 3 years or during COVID, you could leave your house and the property would sell over ask within the week, right?
Right.
The market shifted. It's not happening that way anymore, especially in most areas. So they left, assuming that they could go ahead and do so. And now they're in a situation where they either can go rent it. They've actually had it on the market for rent at the exact same time, and they didn't have a qualified renter. So instead, in this circumstance, the state of Connecticut has high taxes. So it was a little bit challenging for them. So we stepped in and said, look, we can actually just handle this. We got the phone call that the original gentleman made, and then the one we got it on a purchase and sale agreement within 3 days. Now, that's not always the case, and then we're closed within 30 days.
Right.
That's not always the case. But these things happen as long as you're actively out there looking for these types of deals.
Right. That's incredible. There's so many people. So it's because, one of the things, and so we talked about this, but like at Practical Wealth, our goal is to get people to become what I call cash flow-naires, right?
Yeah.
Where we want to get them to what we call a position of FU, passive income twice your expenses. And a lot of times they don't know how, they need coaching. They don't they've got so credit and they don't have any down payment. So like if they could learn something like this will help. And then you're providing a path to home ownership for 70% of people that don't qualify for it. I mean, it's a win-win all the way around.
Well, here's what it looks like, right? So if there's a supply of real estate deals that you can go buy, right? And there's a demand for people to be able to buy these houses on rent to own. Then now all we simply do is step in and engineer a business model that allows us to now be profitable in between both of them. So now what we did is we create a business model where we establish our 3 payday system here. So this is really how it works, because when I look at real estate investing, most people think it's about investing in real estate. But the reality is, if you're an active investor, or you're somebody like us that built a business model around it, or you're interested in building a business model, not just being passive where you're handing somebody some cash to then go do the deal.
Right.
Then it's a skill set, right? It's a skill set. And really what you're using that skill set is to solve a personal problem, because we're in a people business. We just happen to be working with assets of real estate, right? So all we're simply doing is looking for people that have real estate that want to sell it, and there's a pain point that we can solve, and then we buy it. And then we open up the opportunity to the 80% or 60% of people in each market that need time to qualify for a bank loan. And now we present this opportunity. And now because we present this opportunity, we then are able to create multiple streams of income. And this is kind of how it works. So now we bought it creatively, and now we're going to sell it creatively. So now these end buyers are going to need a non-refundable deposit to get into the property. So that's what we call our payday 1. We have a federally trademarked 3 payday system. So our payday 1 is the non-refundable deposit that we collect up front. So when you're talking to people and you're saying, well, I need you to have FU money and make double the amount as far as passive income, some people can do that in one lump sum once a year, or to create non-refundable deposits to occur more than once each year.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're selling a $400,000 property and somebody comes in with 10 grand today, 10 grand in 6 months, 10 grand in 12 months, 10 grand in 18 months, right? To build up to 10%, you're now establishing reoccurring non-refundable deposits. Now, those are 100% credited towards the purchase price. So you're pulling equity out of the deal,
right?
But you're also creating passive income now from doing it, because you're establishing a deal today that's going to pay you non-refundable deposits over the course of the next 1 to 2 to 4 to 5 years. So not only do you do that, but then next is you are going to place them in a property where they're going to be renting the property while they work towards becoming a homeowner. So now you're creating passive income on a monthly basis. This is like the true passive part, because they're paying you, rent. You're then going to go pay, either there's original mortgage on the property, or you're paying the seller who's holding the note for you. You're going to pay those expenses, and you're going to collect the delta. There's no other expenses that come out of that other than insurance, because you're passing along all of the responsibilities to this buyer, because they're acting like and are treated like a homeowner. They just don't have them. They just don't have the title yet. So that's like true no landlord passive income when it comes to real estate investing. And then even better yet, so you're collecting that. So you collect non-refundable today, and over time you're collecting monthly cash flow, month over month, year over year, until they cash you out. And then if there's any additional equity left in the deal, now we can predictably say when this buyer goes and qualifies for their bank loan, I now have another chunk of money that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you can take 5, 7, 10 hours a week as a side hustle, or you can drive this up to be a full-time business and, eliminate your W-2 in the future. You can do that and do a couple deals a year. I'm not even talking about scaling a business. Do a couple deals a year that can pay you a significant amount of income over the course of 3 to 5 to 10 years at a time, based upon the timeline of that deal. And then we just keep looking at how much are we trying to accumulate, and we just keep stacking a deal on top of another deal until we reach that. And then you can take your foot off the gas if you choose to, and then you can go back to it as the deals start cashing out. So that's how you really can accumulate. For a lot of people that we work in our community, that's how it doesn't matter if you have a W-2 job, you're an engineer, a teacher, whatever that may be, is everything in between. This is how you can accumulate enough income to eclipse a salary in a much shorter period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but a much shorter period of time than if you're just buying, buy and hold deals at 300, 500 a clip, because we're getting all these lump sums throughout the course of time as well.
So let me push back and two things that I wonder if let's say rates go down and it's better for the typical market and they start qualifying, and we just come off that, and I know y'all were still doing it, but how does that affect you?
Oh, great question.
You meaning, the process, the system.
Yeah. Well, let's walk through this. So when all the rates went up, it magnifies everything, right? But we've been doing this for 10 plus years. Actually, if you read some of the Rockefeller books, they were doing seller financing on giant buildings back in like the 1600s. So, these strategies have been around forever. But if we look at like when there's a lot of uncertainty, it magnifies, right? Because everybody clamps down on it, or everybody starts free selling everything, because even if they're in a good financial standing, the world's collapsing, the media said, so now they're selling things off, right? So now there needs to be new streams. Okay, so if interest rates continue to stay up and rise, of course, the amount of buyers that can qualify for bank loans increases, right? Which then the amount of properties that stay on the market increase. If the interest rates decrease, right, then the properties that are currently on the market will also sell off more quickly. So that would be the magnification. But no matter what is happening in this world, you still have people that relocate, death, divorce, challenges that are happening on a day-to-day basis that have nothing to do with the interest rates.
Right.
I just always speak on the interest rates because it's the most clear thing that most people see. But a majority of the deals that we do have nothing to do with the interest rates. They like that particular property, relocation, didn't want the property to remain vacant while they're in Florida. Another deal that I have I'm looking at my whiteboard as we're working through deals. Another deal that we have, seller's septic tank failed, and they can't go get traditional financing, and he doesn't have the money to pay for it. So we're going to go ahead and acquire it. Another property, the people are behind on payments. Again, they've relocated. They don't even have enough money to try to do a refinance. So another financial challenging situation. So all of these have zero to do with interest rates. But of course, if they continue to stay up, just the amount of constraint that happens on everyone individually, certainly pushes people to alternative options. But I can tell you, we've been doing these deals at a very high level, and the average interest rate that I was buying on real estate deals was like 4% for many years, because that was like the normal rate, 4 to 5%. Right. And it's just more recently that all of a sudden this spike came up at the exact same time that there wasn't a lot of properties on the market. So that's why you start to see, like, from the surface level, there's not a lot of activity going on. But the truth is, a majority of the deals are happening off market anyways. Like, we're not necessarily always dealing with properties on market. So it's a lot of these other challenges that are more greatly affected than just the interest rate.
Wow. Okay. And another, I'm thinking about stuff people head noise they have going on. So I want to do real estate, but I don't want to deal with toilets, tenants, and termites.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, tenants, toilets, and trash, termites, you name it.
Right.
Well, that's
trash.
That's exactly why the strategy of most people that come into our community are using this, is because they're already busy. They have a family, right? A lot of people get attracted. We have a family business. They have a family. They have a W-2 job. Most people in our community, are still working, or are looking to retire in the future. It's like they want to. So what we've really broken down to is your activities and time are spent doing the deal. And then once the deal's done, we then kind of place it on the shelf and we let the tenant buyer pay us. And the only time we ever revisit that deal again is if the buyer qualifies for the bank loan or they default. And if they default, then it goes through a normal rental process anyways, like an eviction. So if you're truly trying to just put a deal on the shelf and create passive income and not deal with tenants, toilets, and trash, because remember, we're placing all of the responsibilities on the buyer. Right. And these buyers have a significant amount of money into each deal that is non-refundable. So their feet are to the fire. This is why we have a very high success rate when it comes to our buyers qualifying. So that's the least amount of headaches.
Right. So I love that. And see, that's what people think about. Oh, I don't know. I don't have time. Yeah. I don't want to call at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the rent to own is their house. Right. And that's what I wanted to bring out is their house, and so they got to fix it. They ain't calling you.
Yeah. This is why also you can buy real estate, not just in a town, not just in a city, not just even in a state. You can buy real estate deals where they are based upon the terms of the deal, as long as they're profitable, and you can solve somebody's problem, because if you're only going to either see the property once or you're only going to have boots on the ground once you place the buyer on the property. Because then after that, they're simply making a check. Now, I know some people listen to this like either it's too good to be true or there's going to be more complications. Look, there's a business model inside and out on each side, right? Like everything from how to attract sellers to structuring the deals to, I like to say collaboration, because it's not negotiation, it's a collaboration to structure the right deal to create a win-win on the seller side. And then there's a process to attract and qualify buyers. My wife actually just messaged me because we just had a closing literally today, and she said the tenant buyer, when she gave her the keys, started crying because they didn't have this opportunity before. Most people, because it's not so widely known, especially doing it the right way, most people have no idea that this even exists, especially from a consumer standpoint of a rent-to-own buyer. So you're really then providing a win over here as well. So if impacting a community and impacting people's lives is also something on your checklist, then this is also a potential business model for you there as well.
I think, and so from Pennsylvania, let's say I got a lead in Ohio. I could do it like we're doing this thing virtually.
Yeah, we got a deal.
Or would you go there? Like I remember, like when COVID first started, we were talking. You use your phone walking through the house, so you proved to yourself that you could do it virtually. But I know sometimes people might go look at the house one time, or do you still do that? Or
sometimes, right? I mean, some recommendations. If you have zero real estate experience, right, and you have the opportunity to buy in your area, this is why I said the opportunity. I don't want this to ever stop people from doing real estate deals.
Right.
Because the way everything is set up in this world, you can have all the data you ever need. You can have an inspection. Like the reality is you can hire people to do certain things that even if you could touch the property, you would still do anyways.
Right.
So if you have the opportunity, then, and you're brand new, I would recommend that you buy in a certain area around where you live, because you can touch the property, you can see the property, you can meet the sellers, like you can do all of that. So it adds to the experience of being an investor, a real estate investor. It also adds confidence as you continue to go through these deals, right? Some of us that want to do real estate deals, we want to like see the house, and we want to be able to like drive by the house if we ever need to, or we want that nice, comfortable feeling that worst case scenario, I can go drive to the house. It's not necessarily true, because even the ones that are within my state, if there's a problem, I'm not going out there. Right. You got to hire a general, like you would hire somebody to go do so, or you'd have somebody go be your boots on the ground. Or if you're in the process of buying the property, you would hire an inspector to go do it, because as many houses that I've walked through, an inspector is always going to be way more equipped for me based on their experience to tell me everything that's wrong with the property. That's why you hire them.
Right. Exactly.
I go in there as a real estate investor with shiny eyes thinking everything's great because I'm looking to buy the house. So all of these things can be done remotely. But of course, if you don't want to overcomplicate it. So if you have a local market that you want to buy in, awesome. If you have a market that you're from and you have people, also awesome place to start. And then worst case scenario, then pick a market that you want to truly invest in.
I love it. I think that, one of the things that we always talk about is, your number one asset. I know y'all do this because you do a lot of personal development with your associates, right? It's your number one asset. This is I think this is from Jim Rome, is you, right? And what do so you got to invest in your mindset, your skill set is what we're talking about heavily, right? Because skills is what make money. So you're teaching them, through your process, they learn, I think Chris called it, you call it when you're here, becoming a deal architect. You're learning how to solve problems. And so money is a result of creating value in the marketplace. So it's mindset, skill set, network. Who do you know? And more importantly, who knows you? So if you guys are listening and you want to grow your revenue, that's what you want to work on. How can I solve more problems, or how can I be of service to more people? And Zach just talked about doing a win-win. And so that's how you grow, but you got to get off your butt. You gotta do something. You don't have to be running around all over the place, because they'll show you how to, it's a system. So in every business, it's lead generation, lead conversion, lead fulfillment. So that's part of the process of building a business that you're going to learn. It's like getting a franchise, really, because they kind of solved a lot of the problems already. So you just get to plug into it.
Oh, for sure. We actually have a lot of people that joined our community versus going to buy a franchise, because most franchises have a significant amount of overhead day one. Right. And then the projected returns usually don't happen until year 3, 5, 6, 7. But we have a business model, and then we can plug them into our community and give them the support to help them close those deals. So that way they have a system and process. We call it our genius model. It's mindset, skill set, and systems. Because first we got to develop the mindset, right? Because most people that are becoming real estate investors are coming from a background of zero real estate experience or very little. Even though we work with tons of seasoned investors that they want to add this to their current business model, so we got to change and help develop the mindset. Then we need to develop the skill set, because once you believe, and we help change the attitude around it. Once you believe you can do it, then all of a sudden now we got to start implementing the right skill sets. And then once we have the right skill sets, we implement the right systems, and then we take it to the next level and we hit mindset, skill set, systems again. So that way we can continue to up level you based upon your overall goals. It's something that we constantly practice ourselves as well. So that way, as you continue to develop over time, now we can eventually take you from solopreneur to CEO and build out your portfolio.
More talk to you. Every time you tell me this, I get more excited about the whole thing. And it's absolutely awesome. So Zach, let me just have this as a catch-all. Anything you want to tell them that I didn't ask you? And then tell them how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We ask all of our podcast guests as well. No, I don't think you didn't ask me anything, just because we've had so many conversations on this podcast. This is a great place, because we kind of skated a lot of things surface level here today, right? Yeah. We kind of hit on a couple different scenarios. But when you dive deep into this creative financing space in real estate investing in general, it's really about solving a problem. We are solving a very specific problem, but more importantly, we're solving the problems that the traditional market can't solve. And anytime that there's a shift, or there's transition or challenges, you got election, you have high interest rates, you have banks failing, like you have so many things happening in this current economy. The more chaos there is, the more need for alternative options that have been provided to us. So, and this is really why we fill in the space. And whether you're investing in single-family properties, multifamilies, commercial, we had a gentleman who used to be a prior student of ours that now buys branded hotels and boutique hotels with creative financing. Like, wow. It just all comes together. This is like the fundamental building blocks, in my opinion, because if you never have to go to a bank, or have your credit pulled or put down large deposits, why wouldn't that be your number one offer? And then your number two offer, if you really want the deal, would be the alternative. If the deal still made sense. So this is really the fundamentals. I was lucky enough and naive enough that I didn't have any real estate experience and got put into creative financing deals. So now, luckily, I was able to build that as a foundation, and now I want to pass along to others. So a great place to get started. To really dive deeper into this, we want to give you access to our first Amazon best-selling book. That way you can read through the chapters, understand our backstory, and then really understand our 3 payday system as well, along with all of the transactions and how they work. We'll send you out a package. We'll ship it to you for free. Let's go to wickedsmartbooks.com. That's wickedsmartbooks.com and grab that book. And then while you receive that information, then there'll be other opportunities for us to communicate with you via email, and then feel free to take any additional next steps from there.
That sounds great. It feels like we covered everything, and it's funny because I'm just like a fanboy. I just let them talk, right? Because it's so simplistic, but you got to learn it. And it seems like the more you do it, the easier it gets, and you can do other stuff, because once you learn how to do it, like you said, you could do it in commercial. You could probably buy businesses that way once you understand the framework of how to do it. And so, you got to get somebody to teach you to it, because all we're taught, well, you were taught that because I never got that go get a good job talk, but all we're taught is go to work, go to school, get a bunch of debt, and go work for money and pay a lot of taxes. That's why in Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki says rich people don't work for money. They work, they build systems make money, people pay taxes. Okay. And businesses make money. And so, you can build a business, you can build a 5-year, 10-year runway. I don't like retirement, but to financial freedom, passive income, greater expenses. And I think if you're hearing that, I think we just share it with you. And I definitely recommend, we'll put some stuff in the show notes. I know I've got some links that you gave me from the other thing that we did that we could probably put in the show notes also. And you only do that event twice a year. So you don't have anything as of this recording, you don't have anything coming up. You have anything coming up you want to share?
So those that end up joining our community, or you can always get access. We run what we call in the trenches boot camps now. It was a big thing that we created in 2024 where we only take in 15 to 20 people into our home office. And we literally spend 3 days with them where we'll make outbound calls to their leads all day. We will then structure deals all day 2. And then day 3, we will have a blueprint for them based upon their goals for the amount to hit their KPIs or key performance indicators over the course of a certain period of time in order to reach their goals. So that's where we're doing that. We only have our big event now in October. QLS Live, we're only running one now because we're running all the smaller boot camps. And you can grab a ticket to that, or you can join what we just created as our apprentice program, which of course our course, everything for a very nominal price as well. And feel free as you go through the books to set up a strategy call or an advisory call. And we can walk you through how to work with us in many different capacities, whether it's short-term or long-term, and talk to you about how to scale your business portfolio.
All right. So what I want you to hear is there's support. There's a program that you can move up, and you're not in it by yourself. It's not, hey, here's a book, go out there, go sick them. They're going to help you every step along the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. We always recommend people follow this 3-step process. One is decide which niche is going to be most important to you. Like something that you can be passionate about. Because the book is, hey, introductory to creative financing or buying and selling on terms. Is this a real estate niche I'm excited about? Can I spend the next 1 to 3 to 5 years really working on this? Because we actually had Brian Tracy on our podcast, and he said, because we always recommend, all right, you want to reach your goals, commit for the next 3 to 5 years. Brian Tracy came on and said, no, it's 7 years in order to master something. So you really identify what you want, and then read the book. Then after that, identify a mentor, community leader, somebody that you can follow that's not only doing what you want to do, but also at least 3, 5, 10 years ahead of you, and is still actively doing it, not just selling a course from 10 years ago.
Right.
That's actively doing it. Then step 3, put the blinders on. So you should be spending the most amount of time in this effort in understanding what you want to be in. And then once you understand what you want to be in, it's simply selecting the right place to navigate it, and then putting your blinders on and putting your full effort.
There you go. People say I want one multiple streams of income. You got to get one first. And then right? Yeah. That you know how to do. And so when you jump around from thing to thing to thing, and you don't give your efforts time to compound. And because you try to do 5 things and doing none of them very well. So if you like this, then you do this, right? Because it works, and then you stay on it, and you'll get better. Because if it's not working, as Myron Golden would say, if it's not working for you, it's working on you, so you can be the person for whom the work works.
For sure.
So
that's great.
That's your developing your skill set. So Zach, listen, always a pleasure, my brother. This was fantastic. And guys, I want you to, we'll have the links to get in touch with Zach in the show notes, and go out there. Listen, we're going into listen, when things are in turmoil, that's when you make money, right? So you should run into the fire. Don't run away. Okay.
Sure. And blood on the streets, right? When there's blood on the streets, it's time to make money. I've been surrounded by so many real estate entrepreneurs that just said, I wish I bought more then. So this is the time. Like it's probably cliche at this point in time, but at the end of the day, the amount of opportunities in creative financing right now are way above and beyond what I have seen in the past 10 years. So like the train's leaving. This is the opportunity. You're in the right place at the right time to take advantage of this if you're willing to commit the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay. I'm going to let that be the last word. Guys, go out, take action, and we'll see you next time on the Practical Wealth Show. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, send it to them. Leave us a what's it called? A test, not comment. Yeah. And that's not the right word either. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, y'all have a great day. Thanks for listening.